Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King DL, Lauren Frey, Grim Clover, and the upcoming Jaw the Dragon. And here we are with some more YouTube reaction streams with a brand new microphone. Hopefully, it is set up correctly and you can hear me just fine. But yeah, here we are with who is this? Spawnwave? I don't know who this guy. RGT. I can't tell these people apart. They all look the same. They all have that vacant expression, those dead eyes, those stupid hats. They're surrounded by games they don't actually play. Like they're posers. Okay, they're frauds. They're fakes. And um, I have been wanting to do videos on, people that I don't necessarily watch or care about. Like, again, I have been looking for Nintendo hot takes for a long time, and I found a good strong handful. Stuff like the Nintendo Switch Sports is the worst game Nintendo's put out, like stuff like that. There's been a lot of gems we found. So let's go ahead and see what this guy has to say about Mario Strikers Battle League.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this video is going to be pretty difficult to make because I have so many mixed emotions about this game, Mario Strikers Battle League. When it was first announced, I was super excited. You could go back and check my track record. That was probably one of the most exciting announcements during that Nintendo Direct for me personally. I'm a huge Mario Strikers fan. I loved it on the GameCube. I loved it on the Wii. I know some people didn't really love it on the Wii, but I was really hopeful for this game, but doubt started to creep into my mind. I made some videos talking about it because it just looked like it was a little bit lacking. It looked like it was following in those other Mario sports games footsteps that we've gotten thus far on the Nintendo Switch, because they kind of release an unfinished product and then add.
Nope, wrong. The game has the exact same amount of content as the older games. Like it is a sports game. The focus is on recreating the sport in a reasonable manner as so it is endlessly replayable and has a lot of value, right? For Mario Strikers Battle League, it has a lot of focus on online play, and it has a handful of offline modes for local play. Like it is a party game, right? Like it's a sports game. Like it's not meant to have a ton of a lot of content. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to just play the game. That's kind of how it's structured. Like saying that, like, oh man, it doesn't have unlockables, it doesn't have this or that. Like you're kind of missing the point. Like the game is perfectly fine for what it is.
Add stuff as we go along. But Mario Strikers, I don't know, it just had to feel a little bit different. It had to be a little bit different, right? So that's where we come to with this game. Obviously, the game is already released. I've been playing the game both offline and online, and I have a lot of mixed emotions about this game. So we're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, and I'm going to question some things with the decision of this game, and we'll come to a conclusion on whether or not this game is right for you. We're going to talk about the truth about Mario Strikers Battle League, because
The truth. Like what a pretentious title. The truth about Mario Strikers Battle. It's just a review video. Like what is this motherfucker trying to fool? Like, oh man, like there are game reviews for Mario Strikers Battle League, and then there's the truth. Like what a clickbaity title. Holy crap.
I feel like a lot of people won't because they're afraid of pissing off Nintendo fans. And well, I mean, you should know by now, I don't really care about that. I'm all about the game itself and what I feel about it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this game here, shall we? So let's start things off with the good side of things. And I think there are a lot of positives to this game. You know, maybe not as many as we would have wanted, but I do think there are some positives in it. Of course, Mario Strikers Battle League is a Mario soccer game where you're kicking the ball. We're not saying football on this channel. No, sir. Good old US of A here. I'll be an ignorant American where we call the game soccer. It's a
In the Mario world, it's called Strike. Apparently, the marketing material was very particular about that. How closely were you following the development of this game exactly?
soccer game. It's
Uh,
obviously very over the top in terms of the actual gameplay. Yes, there are some actual soccer elements to the game, but it definitely feels like a very pick up and play title. That's kind of the problem I had with Mario Golf.
I I had to spend a lot of time learning how to play the game. It's very, very deep. It's very intricate. There's a lot of things going on. You have to know how to manage your team and like you have the stat building thing. You have like the controls. Took me a while to learn. There are all these mechanics that are actually different than they were in the first two games. So there is actually a very, very steep learning curve for this game. Probably a lot more than what you well, definitely a lot more than what you would see in Nintendo Switch Sports. And the fact that so many people are trying to come out and say the game is like pick up and play, like that's really not true. It's very, very difficult to get into. I found.
Is that I felt like Mario Golf tried to be like an actual golf game with very little sort of fun and hijinks and over the top stuff in the game. Whereas Mario Strikers, they nailed it perfectly. There's items that you can use within the game. You could basically, take out your opponents. You could do charge attacks to take them out with basic tackles. You can actually use your teammates as tackle shields as well. If a teammate is in front of you and somebody is in front of them, you can push your teammate into that character. So I like a lot of things about that. There's been lots of, little tweaks to the gameplay that I feel are very important. Of course, you also have the whole shooting mechanic of the game, which really opens things up. You can charge up your shot, of course, which gives you a little bit of a better chance of it going in. You can adjust where the shot goes if you want the shot to go high, low, left, or right. You can do that while you're charging the shot itself. The passing feels very crisp. There's like perfect passing where you can do passes and do a proper input at a proper time and do a perfect pass where the opponent can't, stop your ball from coming in. I think that's really good. I think the core mechanics of the game feel very well done. There's also the hyper strike in the game as well, which is like, one of the big selling points. It's one of the things that they showed in all the promotion, where essentially what happens is an item comes onto the map, and by picking up that item, you get the opportunity to do a hyper strike within 20 seconds of that item coming.
I think this is very worth pointing out since this is a review video from a channel that covers Nintendo content. Everything he's covering is all stuff that you can see in like pre-release materials and promotion videos. Like Nintendo's released gameplay footage. Like I'm sure there are online tutorials. Like there's no point in for a reviewer to go over this kind of stuff. I feel
Onto the
because
field.
Nintendo's talked about it
What a
already.
hyper strike is, you basically have to charge up your shot without getting hit for a little bit longer than you would a normal shot, and then a little meter comes up. By activating the meter, it's sort of like a mini game. By activating the meter in the proper zones, you can get a perfect shot that can't be blocked, or you can get a shot that, maybe there's a chance of it getting blocked. It sort of does a mini game with the goalie, where if you're the goalie, the opposition who's getting the hyper shot done on them, you have to press A in order to, stop the shot
I
from
love
going in.
Waluigi this
It's a
game, by the
fun
way.
little
He's
mechanic.
great.
You could time it very well as well. The animations for it are very fun. And I think that's a really good feature of this game, because the gameplay itself, it definitely feels like a Mario sports game. It's not trying to be a sports game with Mario characters in it, and I feel like that's sort of important. You have to add things into these games to make them sort of a bit more attractive than just, a skinned golf game. That was really one of my biggest problems with Mario Golf on the Switch. Like I said, it definitely just felt like a traditional golf game with some Mario elements sort of sprinkled in, whereas this feels very over the top. This feels very fun and chaotic. This feels like a proper Mario sports game should feel. Of course, alongside of that, you have the graphics of the game. I think the game itself looks very pretty. All of the effects are very well done. You can push people into the side and they get electrocuted. There's tons of stuff happening when you're playing the game. There's very little slowdown. I did encounter a little slowdown sometimes online, but that's just servers. Most of my games online were actually very smooth and very seamless. And the graphics, like I said, they look great. The effects look great. The hyper shot, the animations that they have with it look
Hyper
great.
Strike.
Everything looks really well done with this game. I'm actually very impressed with the graphics and the presentation of this game. The audio is well done as well. You have your little, Mario sounds, wahoo, crap like that. Pretty much what you would expect from it. So if the gameplay is solid and the graphics and presentation are well done, what are the drawbacks of this game? And that's where we get into the difficult portion of this video, because my fears are confirmed with this game. My fears are confirmed with this game being very light on content on day one, but it extends beyond that. It extends way further beyond that when it comes to this game. Yes, When you play this game, it's light on content. You have a limited amount of characters to choose from, and that really takes away a lot of the fun right off of the bat because you're always playing 4-on-4. So you always are in control of 4 different characters. So you're going to become very acclimated with these characters.
So, the gear system allows a lot of flexibility to how each of these characters can be played. You can like max out stats if you want. You can like try to make everyone be all rounders. You can fix weaknesses. Like there's a lot of versatility when it comes to the character roster. It works differently, I think, than a lot of other games because you can have two of the same character on the field at once, but they can have different stats. Well, your opponent can have the same character you have, I should say, and you probably will have them set up differently. Like they'll have different like you'll have different focuses, you'll play them differently, and like that results in a lot of interesting balance decisions because the meta hasn't been figured out yet. We don't know necessarily like what the best formula is like, and because of the way the game works with the update system, we're going to see a point where a lot of the meta is going to be constantly changing as new gear is introduced and new characters are revealed. There's going to be a lot of massive changes that really shake things up as the months go by. More so, I think, than Mario Tennis or Golf because of the 4-on-4 gameplay aspect, because of how you'll be using all these different characters all the time. It leads to a lot of replay value. Again, this kind of goes into what I was talking about with Nintendo Switch Sports, and the things that people are complaining about really really help the game grow, like when it comes to its online community and stuff like that. And this recent rash of complaining about the update schedule and things like that, like they don't really appreciate the value of it. They don't really understand it. They just bitch and complain about like not getting everything day one. It's ridiculous, and I think it needs to be called out more. It's become a very prevalent sort of complaint with Mario Strikers, and I think it's going to be like the major Pretendo complaint going forward is this acting as if this somehow like limits the game or like ruins the experience when it really doesn't.
Very, very quickly. Now, there is a whole gear system in the game where you could basically add gear to the characters by unlocking points, by doing things like winning games and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. You can basically adjust the stats, but really the characters themselves just feel like other characters. You know, if you have a character that's based on like Toad, who's a speed-based character or a strength-based character by adding certain gear to him. And on paper, that sounds cool, but what ends up happening is the speed attribute will go down because you're buffing the strength attribute. So it's really like you're playing as different characters just with a different skin. You get what I'm saying? Like Toad is supposed to be a fast character. You can't take Toad and make him a fast and strong character. It has to be sort of one or the other. So while the gear is
That's called balancing. Like it's balanced around the fact that you have to be able to compete even if you don't have gear on. Like you have the standard. It's just a stat tweaking system is what it comes down to.
cool, and I did tinker around with it for my Waluigi. In theory, it should work, but in practicality, it just kind of it feels like a carrot dangling at the end of the stick that you're trying to get all this gear for, but are you really accomplishing anything with it? Because you could just simply choose another character that's more tailor suited to your gameplay style. But really,
You can't you have 4 characters on the field at once. Like I'm a big Peach main, right? Like Peach is my best character by far, followed by Rosalina. I've been trying to tweak with the gear system to try to find like other characters that I could use to create like the ideal team, and I still haven't found it yet. I still haven't like put together my ideal team. Like right now, I'm using like Mario and DK, but like I'm not completely happy with how I'm playing with them. I don't know if I need to get better, if I need to like experiment more or what have you, but like you have 4 characters on the field at once. That's what I'm getting at. This idea that you like, oh, just play your favorites. That doesn't work, especially in Striker, especially in like the club mode where you go online and play other people for points, for the division points, which in and of itself gives the game infinite replay value. Um, you can only choose your best character, and then like the game just kind of randomly chooses other characters for you, and like you can't pick your favorites is what I'm saying. Like you have to have a reasonably good understanding of every single character in order to understand this game. It's a big reason why I'm so enthusiastic about this.
Really, where the problems start to creep in is just the absolute lack of content with this game. You know, there's 5
Online,
different levels that you
online play gives the game infinite replay value. Like 5 different levels. It's a soccer field, you spurg. Like what do you want like a baseball field? Do you want a golf field? Like a golf course? Do you want, an excite bike track? Like what the fuck do you want? Like really?
play on. And basically, a person will pick their level they want to play on, say the spooky mansion, and then the other person will pick the lava level. And so it'll be a half and half sort of thing. But even with the 5 different levels, nothing feels different. Nothing feels any sort of, unique to it. It's just a couple different things on the aesthetic.
They're removing the random aspects, right? Like in Charged, you have like gimmicks in each stage that kind of like come out of nowhere and kind of with mess with the game. Like it again, like the main thing this game seems to have done is like be present itself as being extremely competitively viable, right? Like they wanted to focus on removing the random elements and focusing making it pure skill, right? Like not only like what you do on the field, but with off the field with like the gear system and stuff like that. I personally, even in real life, I don't like playing tennis on anything other than hard courts. So like having Mario Tennis and like having all these different courts that I would never use, like that doesn't really add any value to me personally. It's kind of nice that it's in there, but for people who want the option to play on different courts, but for me personally, like I'm always gonna want to play on hard court. Fuck clay, but um with like this like what are you complaining about really like it's just an aesthetic change when you get right down to it. You're always going to be playing on a soccer field.
Side of things, the graphical side of things that sort of change with it, but it doesn't actually affect the gameplay. And most of the time, you don't even notice it because you're just looking at a green field. Like, you couldn't change a color. You couldn't make like one of the colors, like the lava level, red, and then the spooky level kind of purple or something like that. You couldn't have done something fun on the field to sort of break up the monotony. And people are going to say that's sort of a nitpick thing, and maybe it is, but I do feel like the lack of content in the game and the whole perceived notion of getting this gear and changing up your characters and making them better, I don't feel like it's enough to keep you wanting to come back for more personally, because of the fact that
The
there's
online
just
system,
not a
oh
lot
well,
of game.
it has like I said, the club mode, it has you're competing with people online to become the best. That in and of itself is it's like a fighting game. It should have a lot of replay value purely based on this notion, based on that. Like you don't need all of these unlockables.
Modes here. There's no sort of story mode, and that's okay.
Who
I
cares
don't
about story mode?
want a
Okay,
shoehorned in story mode, but in the same breath, it's kind of like, well, this is Mario. Like, if there's any sort of place you could do a story mode for a soccer game, I think this would be it. But no,
I don't know. Like Tennis Aces had a great story mode, but Super Rush really didn't. So if they didn't want to do a story mode, like don't force them. You know what I mean? Like this is their first Strikers game in a while. We wanted really was a new Strikers with online play, and that's what they seem to have delivered on. And I'm very happy with the product as a result of that.
you just have things like quick match. You have cups that you can do offline where you get more gear points and you go against different opponents who are strengthened in other areas and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have the whole leagues thing. And I can't really talk too much about the league thing right now because it hasn't even started yet. But the online portion was obviously going to be very important in this game. I did go ahead and create a league. I made, a little arena. You can tinker with the arena and have like a different colored goal by unlocking points by playing in your, league mode against other people. But now we come to the big problem with the game. And this is an absolute bizarre decision. I don't understand this
What is
whatsoever.
this?
Mario Strikers Battle League is a 4-on-4 soccer game. The only way you can play with 8 people is in local mode. When we get into the online stuff, it becomes so confusing and so contrived that I just can't believe they did this. Now, If you're playing in quick mode and you do an online thing, you basically do 2v2. So two people can play against two other people that can play. There's no real lobby system in that or anything. It's very confusing. You just kind of got to go, balls to the wind and hope for the best with it. But you can do 2v2. So basically, you're going to have two human characters and two AI characters no matter what you're doing, plus the goalie. So a total of 3 AI characters and 2 human characters. In the league, you can do the same thing. You could team up with one person in your league and then play online against other people from other leagues. You can't do 4-on-4, no matter what mode you do. You can't do 4-on-4 online. And it's like, wasn't the whole point of this game the online stuff? Wasn't that the whole driving point of this game? The whole league system that you promoted? Why did you never say in your marketing, you can't do 4-on-4? And it's like other Nintendo games.
That seems like a nitpick to me. It's not common for games to have the option to play. No, I don't think that's reasonable.
Can do it. You could do 4-on-4 stuff in Switch Sports. You could do 4-on-4 in Splatoon on the Wii U. This is a major problem. And it's not just a major problem because you're limiting the amount of players that can play the game with you, but the AI is not good in this game. Your goalie is either Jesus Christ himself or he's Jesus Christ pinned on the cross and can't stop a goal. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Spawnwave and I were doing some matches last night, and we were playing an online match. We got into overtime. It was very grueling. This was like a 6-7 minute match. The other team scored because our goalie literally just fell over. There was no rhyme or reason to it. He literally just fell over. There are times when the opponent is charging up a hyper shot, which, like I said, is worth 2 goals, and your AI counterpart will just be standing literally in front of them, not helping, not trying to stop the shot. And it's like, damn, this could really be rectified if we could do 4-on-4. Like, that's a major problem. And
You can switch between characters at will. So it's really not
a major oversight. You can't play with your friends more than just one friend online. And it's like, why? I don't understand the reasoning behind it, especially in the league mode, which is supposed to be one of the driving factors of the game. And I think my biggest problem, though, is bringing it all back full circle. You play this game for an hour or two, you've seen everything. You have seen everything that there is to do. You've seen all the characters. You've seen all the levels. Yes, you could change up the levels. Yes, you can add more gear to the characters, but it's just cosmetic stuff that messes around with the stats a little bit. Unless you're just completely, in love with the gear and you want to unlock all the gear and stuff and do all the cups, I don't really see why you would, because you're just making the characters play like another character that's already readily available. With the limited amount of characters, the limited amount of arenas that you play in that really don't have a major impact on anything from a visual standpoint, it becomes very boring very quickly. I still think the game is fun. Like, I still have fun playing the game, but it's like, I would have a lot more fun if I could play with 4 people on one team. I don't understand why I can't play with 4 people on one team. Why are there only a handful of characters? Why are there only a handful of levels? And we all know why. We all know why, because they're going to do a drip feed of content with this game. Held back content on day 1 so that you can, want to play the game more. You can want to play the things like the leagues. The leagues don't even start for 8 more days. The game has been out already, and it starts at like 3 in the morning. So I'm East Coast time. So obviously they're still pandering to the Japanese market as if that's their most important marketplace. And it's like, that's such a strange decision to me, because at the end of the day, Mario Strikers Battle League is a fun game that looks really good. But the problem is, it's a games as a service game. No matter what they want to say, it's a game.
Yep, this is the clickbait. This is the narrative. They're trying to push games as a service. There is nothing more reviled among the gaming community than the concept of games as a service. So what the Pretendos are going to do is they're going to try and pretend that what Nintendo is doing is games as a service, even though it clearly can't qualify as such. What are they talking about? Like, it's such a weird weird agenda they're trying to push. Like that, this isn't what games as a this isn't a gas release, okay? It's not. And the fact that they keep trying to push this narrative, no matter how many times it gets debunked, is just it's just laughable.
Games as a service game. And the drip feed of content that's going to come over is supposed to be the carrot dangling on the end of the stick. But for $60, it's like, I expected a little bit more. You could say, well, look at the previous Mario Strikers games. They didn't have a ton of content like that. And to that I say, that was 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Are we still playing video games that play like they did 15 years ago?
Yes! Playing games that were made 15 years ago. Fuck yourself, okay? What a spurt. No. Like there are plenty of games that resemble games being made 15 years ago. Okay, like Resident Evil 4 was is a little bit older than that. How many games has Resident Evil 4 influenced? Like Resident Evil 4 is like longer than a lot of modern Resident Evils, and like nobody really talks about that. All the subsequent Resident Evils, I should say, nobody talks about that. Nobody like suggests that Capcom is ripping you off, or that they don't know what they're doing, or that they should bring back Shinji Mikami, and that they should go back to making Nintendo exclusive Resident Evils. Like nobody talks about that because that isn't the narrative. This guy is seriously going to try and tell you that Nintendo, oh man, they're ripping you off. They're selling you this game for $60. Bro, PlayStation 5 games are going for 70 right now. They're trying to sell you Call of Duty for 70 bucks. I don't see you complaining about that. I don't see anyone complaining about that. I don't even see anyone discussing it. Okay? I don't see you talking about like actual games as a service products. I don't see you talking about like what Valve is doing, like with the Steam Deck and like just no. You are complaining about Nintendo because it's Nintendo.
Advanced. And Nintendo just doesn't, they seem to want to regress when it comes to their sports games. So, should you pick up this game? Yeah, it's a tough question. It's a tough question. I think if you have people to play with locally, because that's what the game seems to sort of be built around a bit more so than the online stuff, even though that's all they talked about in the marketing. I think it would be fun, but once again, you're going to see everything there is to see, you know, very quickly with this game. If you're just buying it for the online stuff, I would wait for a price drop or something like that, because there's definitely not enough meat on the bones right now. And my suspicions were true. You know, Nintendo is just releasing these sports titles with very little content on day one, in hopes that, hey, you know, as content comes to the game, people will still be excited for it. I would rather have a quality experience chock full of content on day one that I keep wanting to come back to than a drip feed of content for a game that, honestly, if it's not holding my attention on the first day or the first week of it, why would I come back to it in the first place? And I know there's a lot of gamers that disagree with that sentiment, but I mean, this is my opinion. If you disagree with it, make a video. Share your thoughts on Mario Strikers Battle League, but man, I'm definitely disappointed. I'm definitely disappointed with
Oh
this
no,
game. I mean, the
he's
wonky
disappointed
AI,
with
the lack of
Nintendo.
ability to play with
Oh
your friends
no.
online, the lack of just overall quality put into the online aspect of the game, even though that was the main focal point of all of the marketing of the game, were these leagues and stuff like that, definitely leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Still a pretty game, still a game you can play for, you know, 20 minutes or something like that. But beyond that,
20 minutes.
I don't know.
It took me more than that to get through the tutorial.
So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this game. Have
No.
you been enjoying it? A lot of people seem to say, oh, I picked up the game and I've been playing it all day. But have you played it today? Have you wanted to come back to it? And if so,
Yes, I have.
Factor, because
You fucking spurred.
Huge driving factor right now with the game. Obviously,
You know what? I'm also going back to Nintendo Switch Sports. Like, none of the... Oh man, nobody's enjoying these games, man. I don't care about Nintendo Switch Sports. I don't care about Mario Strikers. I don't care about this or that. Bro, I do. And that's why people are complaining, because plenty of people feel the same way as I do.
Change a bit over time, but shouldn't that stuff be available when the game releases, or are we just beta testers? Are we just the the gerbils on the wheel that are being, injected with like Viagra and stuff to see what the reaction is to us. Like, I feel like we should expect more. I feel like we should expect more. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. I don't hate the game. Jesus Christ, I know there's going to be people that say I do, but I don't hate the game. I just wish it was more complete. And I think that's the whole reasoning behind this video. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the
Yeah, what a fucking spurg! Like, oh man, the game is so bad. It's so terrible. But don't complain at me, guys. It's just my opinion. What a fucker! I hate this. Hate all YouTubers. They're all trashy. Ah, okay, so these people are so adamant that drip feeding content is somehow is somehow a bad thing, somehow ruins their entire experience. Like, just if it really was that big of a deal, you wouldn't make these clickbait videos. You would just wait for the updates, right? But that's not what they want to do. They want to bitch about it, like right out of the gate. Just no, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. I hate this, and I do. I strongly encourage more people to start calling this out because perfectly good games like Nintendo Switch Sports, games like this, games like Arms, like a lot. Animal Crossing New Horizons, like a lot of really good Nintendo exclusives are getting shit on by these kinds of people because of their autistic hatred of free updates, which honestly makes no sense, especially since like these same people will like rapidly defend paid DLC, right? Like, like they'll make reaction videos to like Smash Bros. Characters and stuff like that. Mortal Kombat DLC. But when Nintendo releases updates for free, that's a problem. Oh man, that's games as a service. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's a complete joke, and more people need to start calling that out.